Hello everyone. Today, we will talk about bad news messages. Maintaining credibility when delivering bad news. Delivering bad news is a delicate task that can significantly impact your credibility. How you communicate during challenging times is crucial, as perceived dishonesty can lead to lasting damage in how individuals view you or your organization. Communication specialist Dave Zielinski emphasizes that employees tend to remember how they were treated during difficult periods more than specific directives. If communication is open and honest, it fosters loyalty and contributes positively to the organizational culture. People may not enjoy receiving bad news, but they expect honesty and transparency. Research indicates that delivering unfortunate news truthfully can actually enhance trust in the communicator. A study conducted by Siegel plus Gale highlights that many organizations avoid sharing bad news due to the fear of damaging relationships. However, their findings suggest that when bad news is communicated effectively, it can strengthen customer relationships and lay the groundwork for increased trust, especially when circumstances improve. Taking responsibility for the bad news is essential for maintaining your credibility. Acknowledging your role in the situation demonstrates character and a commitment to transparency. This approach signals to others that you are willing to support them during difficult times, showcasing both integrity and care. Additionally, communicating with empathy, while considering how the news impacts others, can enhance the perception of your leadership. Finally, showing competence through past successes in handling tough situations, along with presenting a clear plan for addressing the challenges at hand, bolsters confidence in your ability to navigate difficulties. Applying the AIM planning process for bad news messages. Planning is essential when delivering bad news, as it helps ensure that the message serves all parties involved and fosters future cooperation. Bad news should be communicated promptly, so planning must begin as soon as you learn of the unpleasant information. Recipients often feel more hurt by delays in communication than by the news itself. Therefore, your first task is to start the planning process immediately to mitigate any negative impact. Understand how the bad news will affect your audience. Delivering bad news can trigger stress and anxiety, making it imperative to focus on how the message serves the recipients. You need to assess the nature of the bad news and how it will impact those affected. A timely delivery can significantly improve the situation for recipients, helping them process the news more effectively. Additionally, choosing the appropriate communication channels is vital to convey your message empathetically. Deliver the bad news in a timely manner. The adage, "no news is bad news," emphasizes the need for timely communication. If stakeholders know you are making decisions that affect them but haven't communicated any details, they may assume the worst. This gap can lead to speculation and rumors, causing you to lose control of the narrative and credibility. However, avoid delivering bad news prematurely if you lack sufficient details, as this can cause unnecessary panic. For instance, announcing potential budget cuts without specifics may lead to heightened anxiety. Okay, now choose the right mix of channels. In-person communication is generally the most effective method for delivering bad news. It allows for rich communication through verbal and non-verbal cues, showing your concern and enabling immediate feedback. This interactive format lets you address discomfort and develop solutions on the spot. However, written communication has its advantages too. It allows for careful message crafting, ensuring accuracy and clarity. Nevertheless, written notifications can come across as impersonal and may lack the opportunity for immediate clarification. When selecting the communication channel, consider three aspects of the bad news: severity, controllability, and likelihood. Severity refers to how serious the news is. Controllability indicates the extent to which the recipient can change the outcome. Likelihood assesses the probability of the bad event occurring. As the severity increases and controllability or likelihood decreases, richer communication channels become more appropriate. For example, laying off an employee must be done in person due to the high severity and lack of controllability involved. Conversely, for less severe situations, less personal channels may be sufficient. Gathering information from a variety of sources. When preparing to deliver bad news, it is essential to gather accurate information from multiple sources. Bad news situations are often emotionally charged and open to differing interpretations. The potential consequences of these messages can be severe, so having a comprehensive understanding of the facts is critical. By collecting information from a variety of perspectives, such as colleagues, stakeholders, and industry benchmarks, you can develop a well-rounded view of the situation, enabling you to make more objective judgments and propose fair solutions. Additionally, being aware of your own emotions plays a significant role in this process. Emotions can profoundly influence how we perceive situations and make decisions. If you find yourself feeling defensive, rash, or biased in any way, it can cloud your judgment and lead to unfavorable outcomes. Reflecting on your reactions may reveal personal biases that could distort your understanding of the facts. By consciously managing your emotional responses, you can approach the situation with a clearer mindset. Ultimately, gathering diverse information and maintaining self-awareness are vital steps in preparing to deliver bad news effectively. This approach not only helps you make informed decisions, but also promotes empathetic and fair communication. By demonstrating a commitment to understanding the full scope of the issue, you can enhance your credibility and foster trust with those receiving the bad news. This thoughtful preparation can create a more constructive dialogue, even in challenging circumstances. Developing your message for bad news delivery. When delivering bad news, one of the key choices you face is the approach to take regarding the message's directness. For most situations, it is advisable to ease into the bad news, allowing the recipient to emotionally prepare for the shock. In less direct communications, you might first describe the rationale behind the bad news before revealing the negative message. More direct messages, however, offer the bad news up front followed by the necessary explanations. Typically, when dealing with customers or clients you don't know well, a less direct approach is preferred. On the other hand, communication with colleagues can often be more straightforward, particularly with superiors who value brevity and clarity due to their limited time availability. It is also important to consider the motivational values of the audience. For instance, individuals with assertive directing values tend to prefer direct communication, whereas those with analytic autonomizing values appreciate a more detailed rationale. Understanding these preferences can guide how you frame your message. For recipients with altruistic nurturing values, a gentler approach that includes expressions of concern and goodwill is vital to soften the impact of the bad news. Expressing sympathy is crucial when delivering bad news. When recipients feel that you are genuinely concerned about their situation, they are more likely to respond positively and appreciate your honesty. In face-to-face conversations, nonverbal cues communicate your intent, but this is less possible in written communication. Here, techniques such as using a neutral subject line can help prepare the reader for the bad news without revealing it outright. This gradual approach allows recipients to adjust psychologically before receiving the actual news. Using a buffer at the beginning of your message can further ease the delivery. This buffer might include statements that establish common ground or express goodwill, which helps to tone down the emotional impact of the bad news. However, it's essential to keep these buffer statements brief and sincere. Excessive or insincere expressions may undermine your credibility. Additionally, if you anticipate that a conversation may involve unpleasant news, a teaser message can prepare recipients emotionally without revealing specifics. When delivering the bad news, aim to express concern without being overly dramatic. Make your initial declaration of the bad news clear, followed by a straightforward explanation of the reasons behind it. Recipients generally expect clarity regarding the rationale, so sticking to the facts is vital. Avoid evasiveness. A lack of candor can damage your credibility. In written messages, this clarity can be established through a neutral subject line, followed by a concise buffer and a quick transition to the bad news. Once the bad news and its rationale are delivered, focus on immediate impacts on the recipients rather than organizational concerns. Acknowledging the personal implications is critical, as recipients are primarily concerned about how the news affects them. Avoid downplaying the negative impact. Genuinely addressing the consequences shows respect for the recipient's feelings and needs. Following the acknowledgement of immediate impacts, guide the conversation toward a solution-oriented perspective. Highlight realistic solutions and the potential long-term benefits of navigating through this setback. When recipients are provided with options and constructive steps, they are more likely to respond positively, remaining engaged and productive despite the bad news. Finally, throughout the message, aim to maintain goodwill and keep the door open for future collaboration. Whether you are delivering unwelcome news to an employee, customer, or supplier, it's important not to burn bridges. The relationship dynamics in professional settings can evolve, and past interactions can influence future opportunities. Ensuring that bad news is conveyed thoughtfully and respectfully may facilitate better relationships down the line and create a positive foundation for future cooperation. Getting the tone, style, and design right. When discussing bad news, it's crucial to pay attention to your tone and nonverbal behaviors to convey genuine interest and concern. How you manage emotions, both yours and those of the recipient, can significantly impact your working relationship moving forward. Research has shown that when delivering feedback, particularly negative feedback during performance reviews, a positive tone can make employees feel better about the discussion than if they were to receive positive feedback delivered negatively. This highlights the importance of delivery. The manner in which you present the message often holds more weight than the message itself. In written bad news messages, the tone, style, and design are equally important. Aim for a tone that reflects genuine concern while maintaining professionalism. It's advisable to include some positive guidance within the message to inspire hope, but be careful not to provide false reassurance or appear disconnected from the emotional realities faced by the recipients. Clarity is vital. Use simple, accurate, and jargon-free language to ensure that recipients can process the information quickly and accurately. Given that those receiving bad news may be experiencing strong emotions that can distract their thoughts, clear language helps prevent misunderstandings. The design of your message shouldn't be overlooked either. A message that appears too polished may come across as insincere or more focused on aesthetics than on the needs of the recipient. A simple, straightforward layout can enhance the message's effectiveness by making it appear more sincere and accessible. As technology advances, tools powered by artificial intelligence are becoming available to help evaluate the tone of both written and spoken messages. These emerging technologies can provide insights into how your message might be perceived, allowing for adjustments before final delivery. Delivering bad news to clients. In any business relationship, especially with clients, the stakes are high. Over time, you develop close working relationships and become attuned to their needs and hopes. Consequently, delivering bad news to these clients can be particularly stressful, as you don't want to let them down, knowing that your success often hinges on their satisfaction and continued business. For example, in the case of Cindy Cooper informing Juan Hernandez that his business's credit line will be reduced by 50 to 75%, the seriousness of this news cannot be overstated. Given that Marble Home Makeovers is already in a poor cash position, this reduction represents a medium level of severity. However, the flexibility the bank offers in setting the new credit terms gives one some control over the situation, potentially allowing for negotiation. In Cindy's less effective approach, she opts to send an email, which lacks the personal touch that such a sensitive situation requires. A more effective strategy would be to personally call and meet with Juan, where she can better convey the seriousness of the matter and demonstrate empathy. Delivering bad news announcements. The culture of an organization significantly influences how bad news is shared. High-performing organizations thrive on open communication, where employees feel comfortable sharing bad news. Conversely, many organizations suffer from what is known as the mum effect, where negative information is filtered out, leading to unrealistic perceptions of performance. A poignant example of the mum effect is the 1986 Space Shuttle Challenger disaster, where crucial safety concerns were downplayed through layers of communication. This tragic event underscores the dangers of avoiding transparency in organizational communication. When employees communicate bad news openly and with care, it fosters higher morale and accountability. In contrast, delivering bad news via impersonal means, such as email, can leave employees feeling disrespected and undervalued. A report from McGraw-Wentworth highlights that such an approach can drive employees to seek opportunities elsewhere, especially in a recovering economy. In every management role, you'll inevitably need to convey bad news to your superiors, peers, or team members. Doing so constructively can pave the way for a transparent workplace culture. Internal communications regarding bad news should acknowledge employees' efforts and offer a positive outlook for the future. Consider Juan's situation as he informs production workers about the need to reduce their hours for 3 months. He begins this challenging conversation in a supportive environment, a meeting, rather than sending out an impersonal email. While he follows up with a detailed written message, it is crucial that he includes a buffer to soften the blow and carefully balances the company's needs with the welfare of the employees. In a less effective approach, one might neglect to consider the employees' feelings, focusing primarily on corporate needs. This could foster resentment and diminish employee loyalty. However, in a more effective communication strategy, one openly addresses the employees' concerns and explains the rationale for the hour reductions without sugarcoating the news. By providing clear explanations about the likely negative impacts on their income, he builds trust among his team. Ending the message with forward-looking statements about future opportunities ensures that he maintains morale, as long as he can follow through on those promises. Turning down requests and ideas. Turning down requests and ideas from colleagues presents a delicate challenge, as maintaining productive relationships is crucial. Ideally, these conversations should occur via richer communication channels, such as face-to-face meetings or phone calls. Writing can be appropriate for less severe requests, for colleagues who prefer written exchanges, or when responding to previous written communications. If you opt for a written response, it is wise to follow up with a phone call or in-person discussion for added clarity. One common pitfall in this context is the use of token appreciation. This refers to expressing gratitude for a request while simultaneously dismissing it, often leading to perceptions of insincerity. Phrases like "I appreciate your idea," but typically diminish the original proposal without recognizing its validity. Instead, it's essential to be respectful and to engage in meaningful dialogue. Effective communicators also avoid shutting down conversations. While they may say no to a specific request, they remain open to discussing alternative solutions. This approach not only communicates respect but also helps strengthen the working relationship. For instance, after announcing reduced work hours, one faced a request from a supervisor about maintaining full shifts for certain workers. In a less effective response, one might have been dismissive and negative. In a more constructive response, he shows appreciation for the request but makes it clear that the proposal is unlikely to be feasible, while remaining open to discussing other supportive options. Delivering bad news to customers. For those in customer-facing roles, delivering bad news is often unavoidable. In these scenarios, bad news communications should mirror the essential components of any negative message. However, it's important to focus on solutions that customers can control, rather than lengthy explanations for why their requests cannot be met. Customers prefer concise, actionable options without feeling blamed. In a situation where a customer makes an unreasonable claim, one may find himself needing to deny a refund request. In a less effective response, his tone might come across as accusatory, using language like "Since you did not purchase the countertop with a warranty, you will not receive a refund." This approach can alienate the customer and appear uncaring. Conversely, a more effective message would begin with a buffer and an expression of sympathy, acknowledging the customer's concern. Even while denying the claim, one should provide detailed options for potential solutions, thus demonstrating goodwill and responsiveness. Given the high volume of customer interactions, creating templates for common complaint scenarios can save time while still allowing for personalized responses. For example, having templates ready for customers interested in self-fixing their products or those preferring a service visit can help one respond efficiently while maintaining customer satisfaction. Delivering and receiving negative performance reviews. Performance appraisals are a common practice in the workplace, where professionals either evaluate others or receive feedback on their own performance. These reviews can be particularly stressful, especially when delivering negative feedback. This section explores how managers can effectively provide negative performance reviews and how employees can receive this feedback constructively. Adopt a team-centered orientation. Even when addressing poor performance, it's important to frame the discussion as a team effort. Focusing on collaboration helps maintain a constructive tone. Avoid sugarcoating the bad news. Be direct about the need for improvement. Clarity is essential for the employee to understand the seriousness of the situation. Explain the impact. Help the employee understand how their performance affects the organization. This context can motivate them to improve. Link to consequences. Make it clear how poor performance can influence their job security and career advancement within the company. Probe for reasons. Encourage employees to share their perspectives on their performance. This dialogue can reveal underlying issues that may hinder their productivity. Emphasize problem solving. Rather than placing blame, focus on solutions and ways to enhance performance. This positive approach fosters a supportive environment. Be firm. While it's important to be compassionate, managers must also be firm about the necessity for improvement. Clear, targeted feedback is crucial for a useful appraisal. In practical terms, 1. A manager must give Jake, a shift supervisor, a negative performance review. He feels anxious about maintaining their working relationship while being honest about Jake's performance. The effectiveness of Juan's approach hinges on his choice of words and overall demeanor. Clear and targeted feedback. Managers often use the sandwich approach, starting and ending with positive notes while delivering negative feedback in between. However, this can dilute the seriousness of the issue. The focus should primarily be on the negative aspects to underscore the need for improvement. Focus on observable actions and results. Feedback should be based on what can be seen and measured, avoiding assumptions about attitudes or intentions. This specificity helps reduce defensiveness. Establish measurable expectations. Employees need clear, realistic goals to regain positive performance ratings. Discussing actionable steps for improvement, such as deadlines, training, and resources, allows for accountability and progress tracking. Receiving negative feedback. Receiving feedback, whether positive or negative, is a crucial aspect of professional development. In any business role, employees will face opportunities to receive performance evaluations. To handle negative feedback effectively requires emotional intelligence, as individuals may experience a range of emotions like fear or anger. Recognize and name emotions. Identifying your feelings allows for better management of emotional responses. Develop reframing statements. Creating a positive spin on negative feedback can aid in integrating the criticism constructively. By focusing on potential growth and improvement, employees can turn a frustrating situation into a motivating one. Reviewing bad news messages. The reviewing stage of bad news messages is a critical step in ensuring that the delivery of negative information is handled sensitively and effectively. Since bad news often entails unpleasant impacts on recipients, it is vital to carefully evaluate how the situation is addressed. Recipients may feel disappointment or anger, so it's essential to review both written and oral messages meticulously to ensure that the news is communicated respectfully. This preparation can significantly influence how the message is perceived and the future relationship with those affected by the news. To enhance the clarity and tone of bad news messages, it is recommended to reread them multiple times. This involves putting oneself in the recipient's shoes to anticipate how they might react emotionally. Investing an additional 10 to 30 minutes in proofreading can facilitate more constructive future collaborations and minimize potential conflicts. Emotional reactions such as anxiety might distort the original tone, so a pause can help achieve a more composed perspective. When delivering bad news in person, while there is less control over the situation compared to written communication, preparing the core message mentally or in note form can still be beneficial. Seeking feedback from trusted colleagues can provide valuable input. Their neutral and objective perspective can help refine the message before it is delivered. Collaborative discussions about bad news communications, especially those intended for larger groups like customers or employees, are generally acceptable. However, it is important to maintain confidentiality and avoid sharing sensitive information, such as negative performance feedback for individual employees with others. Moreover, applying the FAIR test, ensuring fairness in the message, can further enhance the delivery of bad news. Reflecting on each component of this test allows communicators to strive for fairness, which is crucial when addressing issues that may adversely affect others. Taking the time to ensure that the message is crafted thoughtfully can lead to better outcomes and more positive reactions from recipients.
Thank you for watching. If you liked this video, please like and subscribe to channel.